Welcome. Thank you for coming. Just in case you don't know where you're at, this is a joint venture between Community Connections and Health Plus to present Ms. Cheap, Mary Hance. Mary Ruby, yay! Okay. I'm sure you all know all about Health Plus. They're there to keep us healthy, happy, functioning. I don't know if you know a lot about Community Connections, but I'm going to give you a brief commercial before I turn it over to the main event. Community Connections is a committee that came out of Staff Life of the University Staff Advisory Council. You may not even know about that, but we're like your representatives, the voice of the people. And the purpose of Community Connections is to reach across campus, both Med Center and University. We are working in joint partnership with the Medical Center Staff Council as well, to bring you together, to do things besides just work in your little work bubble, like talk about Christmas or gardening or various things. So we want to hear from you. We want to know what you're interested in. We want to matchmake you up with other people who are interested in what you're interested in. We have a website that's off the University Staff Council, but you can just search in the engine for Community Connections. It'll lead you there. We also have an email address. We actually want to hear from you. In the commercial, Ms. Cheap, who's going to talk to us about frugal but meaningful Christmas gifts.
Well, thank y'all so much for being here. I should have told our Beth that she would have gotten an even bigger crowd if they'd offered free lunch, you know. I mean, that always, it seems to be the thing that attracts people. You know, here we are just a couple of weeks before Christmas, and I have had the most fun and wrenching sort of experience at the paper that we did this little contest of what would you do with $500 if somebody gave it to you or you wanted or found it or whatever. And when I came up with the idea for the contest, I thought, well, we'd probably get people who, you know, would write in and say, well, I'd give it to Children's Hospital, or I'd give it to Second Harvest, or I'd give it to the next door, or whatever their favorite charity was, or where they put their volunteer hours or their dollars. And then it'd be easy to decide, you know, and you could have, you know, 3 winners and be done with it. Well, instead of that, we got over 800 essays from individuals mostly who were wanting something, most of them not for themselves, but for somebody else. And so that made me realize that, one, there's a lot of need out there, and a lot more than I think most of us realize. And two, that there are a lot of people who want to help. And so I think trying to find ways to help is what you can do during the holidays, no matter what your interests are or what you want to do. So just with that said, I just wanted to sort of get that out in the open because, you know, I think we underestimate the need, and I think we underestimate what we can do about it. I mean, it's not like you have to do something really big. You can do something really small. In our family and in our circle, for years, we've always had a dinner, a Christmas dinner with 5 couples that we've all sort of raised our children together. And so for most of those years, we would bring, each couple would bring the other couples a basket, and it would have maybe a bottle of wine or some good coffee or some cheese or, you know, some cookies or whatever. And it was, you know, it was a nice basket. Well, one year, several years ago, the smart one in the group called everybody and said, enough, this is ridiculous. None of us need this stuff, it's expensive, it's time consuming to put together. Why don't we all just give a gift to the charity of our choice in everybody's honor and then have the dinner, which is the part of it that we enjoyed. And I think everybody sighed a big sigh of relief that you didn't have to do that anymore. And so I think when you can change those traditions, it makes sense. Now, I've been working, one of the things that I do every year is my Ms. Cheap Guide to the Holidays. And this is one of my favorite things to do because it's sort of a collection of all the things to do between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day that are free or super cheap. And, you know, every year I'm sort of amazed at the number of things and the diversity of things to do for all ages and different groups and interests. And so I'm going to tell you about a few of those in a minute. But I first want to just tell you a couple of things that I would not do during the holidays. Now, one, and I don't have little children in my life, but even if I did, I would not pay to have their picture taken with Santa. I mean, you just don't have to. There are plenty of Santas that you can get on their lap without paying. I mean, out at Bass Pro, they even have a big Santa out there that you could go and completely free of charge, sit on Santa's lap, and they'll even make your picture. But many of the Santas will let you take the picture, and, you know, nowadays everybody has a digital camera, so be your own photographer and save that money for something else. Now, another thing, and this one is really hard for me and probably for most of us, I read that 60-something% of the people said that when they went Christmas shopping, that they bought something for themselves. Now, I can't say I don't do that. But think about it. If your budget's tight, maybe do without on your part. I think another one that I think is important is pet gifts. They're really not essential. I mean, it's just, we have a new puppy, and there's no telling what my husband is going to get that pup for Christmas. But I just think that's another thing that's very discretionary, that you don't have to do it. And, a big hug and a nice long walk are probably just as much appreciated as pet clothes and those sorts of things. I also think that a thing that people get carried away with before they know it are stocking stuffers. You think, well, I'll just get a couple of little things to put in the stocking. And, it mounts up quicker than you think, that this $5 thing and this $3 thing, and all of a sudden you could have bought something really nice. So I think that's something to think about. And I try to do in the stockings, things that I know, particularly with my children, that they might need or want that they just hate to buy. Now, in one year, my daughter Anna is here. Anna's listening to all this over here. And she, one year I had somebody call me or write me and say how sorry they felt for my family, being Miss Cheap's family at Christmas, because they were assuming that I just didn't do anything. But that's not the case. I mean, I just think the whole thing is that you stretch your dollar during the holidays just like you do any other time. And if you can get more for less, the other problem I have at being Miss Cheap is that whenever I give somebody something, they assume I got it at Goodwill. I mean, it's just like, I can spend something and get a really nice gift for somebody, and they go, oh, I bet she, bet that was a re-gift, that kind of thing. Now, regifting, how many of you all think regifting is okay? Okay, I do too. I definitely do. Now, you have to be careful with regifting. You want to be careful. One, the first thing is to not give it back to the person that gave it to you, unless it's a dirty Santa or one of those kind of things. But, the other thing is you've got to get rid of the telltale signs, like if there's a card in there, kind of inspect it. And then the really important thing is that don't do it unless it's something you think the person would really like. I mean, just if your aunt gave you a sweater that's just awful looking, I wouldn't give that to your cousin. But, if one of the things that we got as a wedding present was a little silver tray that had an H on it, that had been, a friend of my mother's gave us as a wedding present and had been in her family, and the H was perfect for us and nobody in her family had the H anymore. And I love that tray. But, to me, that was sort of a better gift than her going out and getting me something that I didn't really need. And then I think the other thing, and this is a hard one, but I think don't buy a gift for somebody just because they're giving you a gift. I mean, it puts you in a bad position that you've got somebody that you've always exchanged with, that you've always done that. I think it's really fine to call and say, listen, let's don't exchange gifts this year. Let's just go get a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or have dinner or lunch or whatever, or take a walk, and just get rid of that. But in the event that somebody just shows up with a gift for you, I really still think it's okay to just be gracious and say thank you, and then to not do it, and then next year say, don't do that anymore. And probably if you don't give them one this year, they won't give you one next year anyway. So, and then the other thing, and this has nothing to do with being cheap, but I just see this going sort of by the wayside, is that when somebody does give you something, to take the time to thank them for it. I just think, the day of the thank you note has just disappeared, and I think it's so easy to do that, and it's, I think, more appreciated now than ever because people don't do it like they should. All right, so those were just some of the tips for saving. And another thing I think that is really something to think about is at the end of the holidays to evaluate what you spent and what you enjoyed and what you didn't enjoy during the holidays. And then next year, you'll have a better game plan for what you want to do and what you don't want to do. I mean, think about what was stressful or what was over the top or what you just said, I never want to do this again. And then next year, be more deliberate about it and be able to not do those things. They do these surveys about this time every year about that the average American is expected to spend X amount more or less or whatever than they did last year. But how many of y'all know what you spent last year? I mean, most people don't really know what they spent. So, I mean, it's knowing what you spent and what you did so that you do have a benchmark for it. Now, one of the best stories that I heard over the years was one year I did a contest asking people what they were doing to make their holidays more meaningful and less commercial. And I got lots of good tips on that. But one was a couple that she wrote in and said that they both made pretty good money and had no children, no big expenses, debt or anything. And so what they had started was a tradition of each one of them gave the other one a $100 bill on Christmas Eve, and then they were supposed to give it away somehow, either to a person or a charity or however they chose to give it away. And so that particular year, the wife, her plan was to get up early on Christmas morning and for the two of them to go to Waffle House, which I suppose is the only place open on Christmas morning. And they both ordered a cup of coffee, and then she left the $100 bill there for the server just as her tip. And then they watched him from the car as she saw her good fortune. And they said that was just their best Christmas, just to see that sort of, unexpected joy in somebody else. So there's nothing cheap about a $100 gift, but it is something to think about of how you can do things for other people. Now, as far as things to do during the holidays, have any of y'all been to Tuba Christmas, Merry Tuba Christmas? Well, I'm just telling you, if that doesn't get you in the mood, nothing will. And it's next week, it's on the 13th, and it's at First Baptist downtown. It's free. They do take up a love offering at the end for the homeless program downtown. But it is 100 tubas playing Christmas carols. And the tubas, I mean, these, it's the whole range. They're tuba euphonics professors from the Blair School here at Vanderbilt, and it's all the way down to the 5th grade tuba player who is just starting out. And they play all these Christmas carols, and there's a sing-along portion to it. And they have it at 11 and at 12:30. There's plenty of seating down there, and it's free. That's one of my favorite things to do. The Nashville Unlimited Christmas Concert. Now this one does have a suggested donation at Christ Church Cathedral, but it's always their surprise guests. People like Emmylou Harris show up. The Time Jumpers are supposed to be there this time. But it's dozens and dozens of musicians and a really great musical program. There were other ones that were this coming weekend. I've got 2 or 3 sheets here of things.
What was the one you just mentioned? What's the date on that one?
The Nashville Unlimited is the 14th. Let's see. The Belmont Mansion this weekend is having its annual Christmas with the Acklins. That's free, where you can go in the mansion and see it all decorated, and they have a lot of children's activities and scavenger hunts, and they make holiday cards and that sort of thing. The Dickens of a Christmas Street Festival in Franklin is this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. The governor and first lady have started having open tours of the executive residence, and you can just go and tour the residence and see where they live, see how they live. The Walk Through Bethlehem over at Woodmont Christian Church is this coming Sunday. This one sounds interesting. The First Baptist downtown is having keyboards at Christmas on Sunday with 6 grand pianos. So that's 528 keys, 24 hands, and they have the sanctuary choir and some of the church's most talented instrumentalists. It's for all ages, and it's at 7th and Broadway. If you've got train collectors, if you've got children that enjoy trains or adults that enjoy trains, there's a train show Saturday at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds. If you rush today, you can go out to Tennessee State University to the poinsettia open house where they'll give you a poinsettia. And then there are lots of good sales too. But I mean, there's just, it's the whole range of things that you want to do. I did a guide to the holidays that ran on the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend, and it was, it covers the whole thing. And you can find that on my blog page, which is just Tennessean.com/Ms. Cheap. And it has, something for every day during the holidays. They have, at Belmont, they do the Carillon concert on Christmas Eve. And it's just great. I mean, you can go to the campus and just hear that music. Carillon's only one of 3 in the state, I think. So that's an interesting, different thing to do. The other part of this, I mean, I think the holidays pose a lot of people a lot of challenges because money is tight for everybody these days, I think. And when Laura Beth and I were walking over here, she said that they were doing a totally homemade Christmas, she and her husband. Now, she is way ahead of most of us in that her husband is a glass blower. And, you know, if I were doing a totally homemade Christmas, people would, you know, you would feel sorry for Ms. Cheap's family. But I think, you know, things that you can do with a gift exchange, or, you know, I had one family tell me that at Christmas that they had decided, you know, drawing names is always something people do, but they drew names, and then the rule was that whatever you gave the person had to make them laugh. And so that was the whole, you know, the common thread through all of it. And so one of the examples was that they had a sister-in-law who had always, she was just notorious for coming to all the family functions and leaving with food that she would take away in the host's Tupperware and then never bring back. And so they got her this huge set of Tupperware. And so everybody thought that was great, to give her a hard time about that. But, you know, you can tailor those things to fit the family. And, you know, the Dirty Santa things where you do gag gifts are a lot of fun, especially if you have a limit, a dollar limit on it, where you can have fun with it. I spoke to a lunch in Mount Juliet this week where they asked all the people there to stand up and say what their holiday traditions were. And it was really interesting. You know, you think about what you do and you don't realize that other people have completely different traditions and things that they do. But I think it's good to establish traditions that your family thinks are fun and that they wouldn't want to do without. And so, I mean, it's making it work for your family. But I think cutting that list is the most important part of saving the money. And it does, you know, I think people think you do that and it hurts people's feelings and all, but I really think most people these days would be happy to spend time instead of money when you do that. Now, I can talk about lots of other things, but I've got a list of sales that I was going to tell you about, and then I'm just going to open it up for your questions, and maybe we can get a little bit of interactive talk going. One of the best sales of the season goes on through this Saturday, and it's it used to be CPS out in Franklin, and it's now We Are Building Lives. They do it as a fundraiser, but it's gift wrap, and all of their gift wrap, all of their rolls of paper are $1 a roll, and that includes tax. So if you're wanting to load up on that sort of thing, they also have a lot of gift items, and I don't think anything was more than $3. And it's out on Columbia Highway in Franklin, and it's every day through this coming Saturday. The Surratt Art Studios sale. Have y'all been to that, to the Holiday Arts Festival over at Surratt? And it goes through Sunday, and you know it's over 20 artists, and they have jewelry and cards and pottery and all sorts of things. And I think the prices over there are really great. There's also the HCI sale. Now, I know some of y'all have been to that, the $6 sale. And it comes to the medical center a couple of times a year, maybe even 3 times a year. But everything in the sale is $6, and it's up at Light Hall. Is that where that is? Where they have it? But it's this company. If you don't know about them, they're real interesting. They go from hospital to hospital and to office building, and they load all this stuff in there at the $6 price point. And like if it's at Vanderbilt gets to choose what charity they want to give their, I think 20% of the take too. So it lets you all decide if you're hosting it where the money goes, and then that keeps their overhead down so they can do the sale. But it's everything from there's a lot of jewelry, and some of the jewelry has the original prices of $20 and $30 on it. It's scarves, it's leather goods, gloves, a few kind of techie things, but sunglasses, readers, everything's $6, and then you do pay tax. And it's one of those sales where you think, oh, it's only $6, but you have to be careful. I mean, that's the kind of sale I go to, and I think, well, I'm not going to get anything, and all of a sudden I've spent $30. So, you know, again, nothing is a bargain unless you need it. That's my favorite phrase this time of year and other times of year. So let's have some questions. Uh-huh. Oh, it is, it will be December 14th through 16th, and the first 2 days it's from 7 to 6, and the third day it's from 7 to 2:30. The flea market at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds is also that weekend of the 16th, and that's usually a good one because they have a lot of holiday things, and it's mostly indoors, I hope. All right, who else has a question? Come on. Uh-huh.
I struggle with the issue of grandchildren that just get so much stuff to the point where they just open gifts and pretty much toss them over their shoulder. And we almost completely backed out of giving them gifts, which to me is very sad because they get so much on the other end.
Well, it is hard. And I mean, in our situation, when our children were little, you know, we really did try to limit it, but our older daughter was born on Christmas Eve and was pretty much the first grandchild on either side. And so before you did anything, it was too much. I mean, you know, it was just, I mean, you know, Anna one time said, how come they all come for Elizabeth's birthday? And I said, well, it's not that, they're coming for Christmas, you know. But it's really hard to limit it because you want to do things. But like with my, my college roommate and I, we're godparents for each other's children. And so one year, after a couple of years of this sort of extra, way too much kind of Christmas, she said, why don't we just focus on the children's birthdays and not do Christmas? And that way it'll be a more special day on their birthday, and then, you know, then we don't have to do Christmas. And I thought that was a really good solution, to just take one off the list, and then they'd have a better day on the birthday. But, you know, one of the things that I've heard over and over is trying to change children's expectations, and to say, what are you giving for Christmas instead of what are you getting for Christmas, and to involve the children in whatever charitable volunteer things that you're doing, to try to, you know, I mean, in this contest that I just did, I've had so many of these parents say that they want their children to be part of it, and that they've had them go through their toys and clothes and find things to give away, or that if they're adopting a child from the angel tree, that they try to adopt one their age so that they can shop for that child and feel like, you know, and be able to have the conversation about why are we doing this, and that there are people who don't have anything, and to try to just sort of steer it to a more, you know, to a more balanced way of looking at things. But I think it is a problem for a lot of people, that it's just, it's overspending, it's overdoing, it's you know, it's way too much. But it's hard to be the one to change that, you know. I wish I had a good answer.
I think we're going to do gift cards, like Phillips Toy Mart gift cards. They live in Memphis. They love Phillips Toy Mart. So that after Christmas, when everything's calmed down, then they come spend the weekend with us, and that's what we do. You know, we're trying to separate what we do for them from the actual Christmas Eve.
Yeah, well, that's great. And if you're doing it afterwards, you can get some bargains too. I had one family that said they don't celebrate till the 27th. And that and then they give money to the kids, and they, you know, these are grown kids, but then they're able to buy so much more.
Do you know any organizations that do adopt a child where the turn-in date is later than the age?
There are a couple of things. St. Luke's has extended theirs. Theirs is an adopt a family, but, you know, sometimes you can get a couple of people to go in on it. But they've extended that to the end of next week, and they still had 70 families to adopt at that point. But the other place is the Last Minute Toy Store, and that's out at 61st Avenue United Methodist Church. And they've done this for a number of years, where they have this toy store that's the last, you know, sort of the last stop for people who didn't qualify, weren't in on the things at St. Luke's and other places. And they work with St. Luke's and the other places that are giving things out in that zip code, so that people are not double dipping. I mean, I think they do a pretty good job of that. But at the Last Minute Toy Store, they want specifically what they want. I mean, they'll take anything, but they want new things, they want them unwrapped, and they want $10 and $20 kind of gifts for all ages, but they're particularly in need of things for teenagers and babies. So, I mean, I don't know exactly, I mean, the teenagers are a challenge, I know, for everybody. But, you know, one of the best stories I heard was for Angel Tree. A lady told me that she starts in January to buy for Angel Tree, and buys for a 14-year-old girl. And so by now, she's got enough for 5 or 6 girls, by shopping, you know, spreading out the shopping, and by just, shopping smart with bargains and that sort of thing. And she said she would be able to buy 1 or 2 if she waited till the last minute. And so I asked her, I said, why the 14-year-old girl? And she said, oh, that's always the last one picked. And so, you know, everybody does want the 5-year-old boy, the 4-year-old girl who's easy to buy for. So it does, you know, that seemed so nice to be that deliberate about it. Yeah, I'm also right in the middle of this penny drive for Second Harvest, and that's another thing that people don't think about. I think is everybody's. I'm sure y'all have done food bank drives here and in your churches and clubs and whatever, but I don't think people think about stretching your dollar for that too. Like if the Publix penny item is not something you particularly want, get it anyway, and put it in a little stash at your house. And then when the food bank drive comes, then you've got something for it. Or if you can shop on Senior Day, or if you've got coupons for things that your family doesn't particularly like or need that you can get for pennies on the dollar, why not do that? And then you've got if you're going to spend $20 for the food bank, why not get the most you could get for it? And to me, that makes it's not that hard to do. It's just being a little more deliberate. Now, I am in the middle of the penny drive. Y'all need to be warned, because the way the penny drive works is that I vowed that everywhere I went between the time I kicked it off and the end of the drive, that I would be asking everybody that I saw to give me all your change. And if you have any dollar bills and that sort of thing, that's okay too. But last year we were able to raise $15,000, so I've got to top that. So who else has a question? Uh-huh. Well, I mean, I think once they get out on their own like that, they appreciate things in a different way too. That, if I had given a goodie bag stocking kind of thing that had paper towels and Advil and, things like, practical sponges and things like that, at one point I think they would have just cried. I don't know, but now, it's like, oh, this is good stuff, and they know that that's something that they don't have to buy. You hate spending particularly when times are tough and tight, you hate, paper towels are outrageous. I mean, I just,
I live in New York, so they're really outrageous.
I bet. And I think, another thing that when they're first starting out, that I think gift cards for places that they like to go eat is just, it's just to enable them to have a little treat, and instead of stuff that maybe, I can't pick for my girls much anymore. I just would rather them pick something that they really want, instead of me spending money and time on something that is not. I mean, I'm sort of over the surprises. It's if I had a good surprise, I'd love it. But it's even the same thing like with people who are elderly, or people who do seem to have everything they need. I think those people should tell people what they want, instead of having their children or their relatives going, aimlessly looking around the mall and picking something up and spending $30 and saying, well, this will do. I mean, it's so much better to say, I really would love to have, a gift card for, Outback, or, it's not. To me, it's like, that would be a gift, a double gift to your children, or whoever's buying it, for them to know something you wanted, and then to know that it was going to be used. But I mean, how many people of you have somebody on your list that you have no idea what to get for them because they already have most everything? I mean, how many of you might be that person on somebody's list? I mean, but I think it's a good thing to be able to say. I had one elderly lady tell me that through the year that she kept a little thing on her refrigerator of things that she thought of that she needed, that she'd like to have if somebody wanted to give it to her. And it wasn't like greedy things. It was just like that she needed a new measuring cup, or that she wanted, she'd seen some, gadget or something that she thought would make her kitchen better. And it was just, because then when somebody said, what do you want? It's hard to think of it. So she said that was good for her to kind of keep up with it as she went. So I think anything you can do like that it's better than having people waste money and time. Or we have to have a few more questions. Oh, come on. Uh-huh.
I'll share with what I get my mother every year. she's 84, I get her a gift certificate to the beauty shop. She loves it. I don't know why. She likes to walk in and say, how many more visits do I have? And she doesn't have to pay. And then also this year I made 2 picture books, one for my sister and one for my mother, of Christmases past, starting when the grandchildren, with our first one in '77 until now.
Oh, I think that's wonderful.
It's precious, and I had my brother-in-law go through all the old Christmas pictures from up there and sent them. And
Oh, I think that's great.
We made 2 books, got half price on them.
Those coupons at Michael's were good. But you know, one thing I'm working on right now are gift cards that are worth more than, you know, more than the face value, where you either get a $10 extra one, or, you know, at Midtown Cafe and Sunset Grill, if you buy $100 in gift cards, you get a $25 one free, I think. It may be better than that. But I mean, O'Charlie's is doing it, Logan's is doing it, Stony River is doing it, where they're giving you a kickback. So if you're buying gift cards, why not get the ones that are, you know, you can get more than your money's worth to give away. I like that.
Or are there still gift cards out there? I can't remember who was doing it, where some percentage of the total was the receiver would designate what charity they wanted that percentage to go to. So
I don't know. I don't.
You bought a $50 card and maybe you grossed it up to 55, and they picked what charity that $5 went to.
No, I'll check into that though, because that would be great.
That was, I don't know if that company made it or not.
But I mean, I think people are buying Groupons for Christmas gifts, and I mean, there's a whole new world out there with all the internet stuff, and I think, you know, one of the best pieces of advice, not just now, but anytime, is that no matter where you're going to shop or eat or whatever, is to Google it and see if there's a discount code or a coupon. You know, there's nothing more annoying than to get in line, you know, somewhere to pay, and somebody's got a 40% off coupon, and you go, where did you get that? And they go, oh, I Googled it. And you go, well, hello? Uh-huh.
You might already know about this, but restaurant.com is doing a promotion right now called Feed It Forward. Do you know about this?
No.
Oh, well, it's totally free, but you can send a $10 restaurant.com gift card to up to 10 people a day until the promotion's over. Like, no obligation, it's just like a free $10 gift card. So the restaurant.com gift cards, the way they work is like, you get a $10 gift card, it's good for $20 worth of food or whatever, local. So, I mean, I've used them at least 10 times with no problems, but yeah, it's totally free. Just
Really?
go on the restaurant.com, Feed It Forward website. You can do 10 people a day until the promotion's over.
Well, I'm going there as soon as I get back. But there's so many things like that, you know, and I'm trying so hard on this blog. You know, a couple of years ago, I couldn't have told you what a blog was, but I am a blogging fool now, I'll tell you. But if you know, that's the kind of thing I would love to put on there. And the blog, I'm able to put on sales and a lot of things that I can't get into the Tennessean just because of space and deadlines. But it's also just when I hear about something like that it makes it so easy to put something out, and that goes to the blog and to Facebook. So, oh, that would be great. That would be even better. Yeah, we're already friends. Well, I brought you all some. This is the cheapest thing the Tennessean would give me to give away, but here's some. We can start these around, and they're useful too. So, but it has my blog address on there, so you can. We can start back here. Uh-oh, sorry, throw it at you.
That's all right.
I pulled one out of my purse the other day, and I had used it. I had used it, and they said, well, that really was cheap. I didn't mean to. It was embarrassing. So any more questions? Any more? Well, I hope this has helped some. I love to talk cheap, and the holidays, I think, are particularly sort of ripe for being more careful and being more deliberate. But, you know, it doesn't have to take away from it. I think it actually adds to it when you can be more mindful of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So Thank you all so much for having me. The blog is just misscheap@tennessean.com. I mean, that's misscheap@tennessean.com is my email, and the blog is just tennessean.com/misscheap. Now, if y'all do have any change or dollars or anything for the penny drive, it all goes to Second Harvest, and they can get 4 meals out of $1. So that's pretty good. I mean, I can't do that. Oh, I did bring books. Oh, I thought you'd never ask. Oh. We have 99 things to save in your household budget, and that one is $10 with tax and your discount today. And Love for a Lifetime, which is my book about a long and happy marriage. And that doesn't have anything to do with being cheap, but advice is cheap. And it's all these people's advice for a long and happy marriage, all these people I've talked to over the course of our 2 daughters getting married. So thank you all so much for having me.